Identifying.
Standby one. Let's go. Let's go.
You're about to experience the uncensored conversations, stimulating wit, and the thought-provoking wisdom. Bold, raw, and uncut. Right now, on the LanceScurv Show.
Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, is on a tour of America to get out of my little bubble in San Francisco. As part of that tour, he stopped at the Mother Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Wait a second. The Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Where did I hear of that church before? Wait a second. Isn't that where Dylann stormed roof, killed 9 black people? And Mark Zuckerberg goes there to speak to black people? He wants to come out of his little bubble. So he goes on his tour and goes to every state. I'm going to post a link for this video that I'm deriving some of the facts from so you can watch it in its entirety. But I smell a rat. I smell a rat. Go on and listen to this snippet from the video, but understand that my thoughts are based on the entire video and what he said. So I may say some things that you may not understand, but just listen to this little teaser snippet so we can keep things short.
Hi, my name is Ryan Godwin. I'm a junior psychology student from Cleveland, Ohio. And my question for you was, what do you personally do to ensure that your company maintains a free and safe environment for the expression of all thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big one. I think my framework for this, if you want to create a well-informed community, I think there are 2 things that you need. One is a diversity of viewpoints, which you can achieve by giving everyone a voice and getting the viewpoints out there. And the other is enough common ground in the views that people have that you can make progress together, right? So if people just have different if our shared view of reality fragments so much that we don't kind of share any common views on how to get things done together, then we're going to have a hard time making progress as a society. So we think about both of those issues. And there have been a lot of issues around misinformation in the last year. So people talk about fake news, but I think that there's actually more beyond that. I also worry about sensationalism and polarization. Right, so it's one thing if news is fake, but I think an issue that's almost just as big is when news outlets take real facts, but they cherry pick them to construct a narrative which is clearly very one-sided. Right, and I think we see that on all sides of the spectrum, and not just in politics. Right, I mean that's happening in discussions about business, around sports, around any different kind of area where you could have that debate. I think we're seeing that kind of polarization. So the question is, how do you resolve this? And there are folks who say, hey, you should just not allow some of this stuff. And our approach has always been much more focused on how can you combat misinformation by allowing a greater diversity of opinions rather than less. So, I talked about things like people can flag something if they think it's incorrect, so that way we can have a third-party fact checker weigh in. But again, it's not saying, hey, you can't share this thing if you believe it or if you think it's funny or you think it's good, but a person who's reading it may also benefit from knowing that in addition to the fact that you wanted to share this piece, this respected third-party fact checker disputes the fact that it's true. Right. So, but I think that that's always the approach that you want to take. And we've been the subject of a bunch of controversy on some issues. I mean, we have a board member who is an advisor to the Trump administration, Peter Thiel. And I personally believe that if you want to have a company that is committed to diversity, you need to be committed to all kinds of diversity, including ideological diversity, right? So I think that folks who are saying that we shouldn't have someone on our board because they're a Republican, I think that's crazy, right? I think you need to have all these different kinds of diversity if you want to make progress together as a society. But I do believe that the answer is getting different views out there and increasingly giving people a voice. So that way you can get more different opinions out there, and also building tools so that we can bring people together and have enough common ground to move forward on that together.
respected third-party fact-checker who's an advisor to the Trump administration. Well, I'm going to have issues with that. And we don't know who else works for him in this respect. Mark Zuckerberg. Amazing. Like the old episode of The Twilight Zone where the aliens came from outer space to help mankind, to serve mankind. They had a book that they derived their thoughts from. It was a guidebook, a guideline to serve man. And everything was going good. Cancer was cured, diseases were cured, world peace was attained. Until somebody got on that spaceship and got to look inside that book and realized that the book that the aliens used to serve man was a cookbook. So they were getting humankind relaxed and happy and full, and they dropped their guard because they planned to cook every human being in a meal and eat them. So their intentions weren't about world peace and helping, serving, and love. It was because they wanted to get a look into the mind of human beings, get them relaxed, and eventually take them down. So I think it's very symbolic that Mark Zuckerberg, the creator and CEO of Facebook, would find himself at this church. But I think that's going to go over most people's heads. I have a few thoughts about him going there, right? I mean, the conversation, any conversation, as far as I'm concerned, with these big companies must include black empowerment. As a member of the black community, I think out of that because I am a member of the black community. If you're a member of the Jewish community, you think of world events and world happenings, but you always think about it as it affects your community and you. So stop being afraid to speak up as a black man and a black woman, because they will tell you, oh, it's always about black. But nobody tells that to the Jews. Nobody tells that to the LGBT community, which can go across many races. So many we find that are in the LGBT community have abandoned the cause of their community, especially black people who identify that way and turn their back on the black community. Mexicans, you don't see them doing that. Latinos, you don't see them doing that. Irish, you don't see them doing that, right? Europeans, you don't see them doing that. But we do it. But the minute we speak up for ourselves, we get flagged on Facebook and thrown in Facebook jail. What's up with that, Mark Zuckerberg? Respected third-party fact checker. He's telling you right there that he has one who is an advisor to the Trump administration. Well, what about some black people who would be some excellent, respected third-party fact checkers? Maybe some of us would get thrown in Facebook jail a lot less, which is really censorship. But understand that Facebook, as many have said, is Fedbook. He is the face of the government. We give our information away too easily. Why does he want to know about our strong communities? He mentioned that earlier in the video, and you'll see that when you listen to it and watch it. They want to emulsify what's left of the black community and the oppressed peoples of the world so they can move forward with this globalization agenda. Globalization. You want us to really be globalized? Well, what happens when a black company or a member of the black community reaches out to their own all over the world? You don't like that. We can only globalize under your umbrella. Because to me, I believe in reaching across the shores to my people. You look over in Mother Africa, you see many white companies who are doing business there, right? Chinese are there. Indians are there. But why can't we as black Americans deal direct? Why can't we as black Americans, instead of going through companies here who exploit us, deal with the Chinese direct? Right? Why can't we deal with the Orient direct? We can, but they make it harder for us. So globalization, in my mind, under your umbrella, it benefits us not. To me, globalization is the new integration, right? And when we were integrated, many of us felt we were fighting for that through the civil rights movement. But still, at the end of the day, who had the final say? And we're not integrated. And it's okay with me, because when we were segregated, we did better and we stood on our own 2 feet much better and more effectively. But will Mark Zuckerberg address exploitation and oppression? And those of us who speak about oppression and exploitation, if we do it a little too much, we're flagged. So you better check those so-called respected third-party fact checkers, right? Because the true uncensored black voices are a threat to what you intend to have as control over the people. And sincerely, I wish that we would just all turn our back on Facebook and turn to each other. Because Facebook doesn't intend to do anything for us. And for those who dispute me or say, well, you know, you're stretching it a little bit too far, Scurv, saying that they're working with and for the government or they are the government. Well, look, it's just common sense to me. Anytime you step on the government's toes or their hustle, right? Just think of it this way. We have the Postal Service. And I don't have the facts in front of me, but it's just common sense. You can send a message, an instant message, instantly to someone in another state for free, as opposed to writing a letter and going down to the post office, purchasing a stamp and sending it off so it gets there several days later. It's common sense. This is why the Postal Service has reduced their manpower. They've reduced the days that they're in operation. It's common sense. I'll find the facts if you want me to, but you can see it as plain as day. Why doesn't the government get upset at that and say, Mark Zuckerberg, you've crushed our business. You have to pay a fine. No, but they're working along with each other. They want to learn how we're thinking. They want to know who's saying what. For him to come out of his so-called bubble, we should be on high alert, because he's not interested in helping us out. They already have all the money they could ever spend. They want to further their hold around our necks because, again, they're not speaking on black empowerment. Any revolutionary thought that's truly effective is suppressed. It's already proven that when you do a search on Google or search through Facebook, different people get different results. Certain posts don't go out there if someone deems it not appropriate and against the agenda of oppression they have on us, their stronghold. And we're too dumb to see it because we're titillated by this and we're put to sleep by this. We have more information than ever at our fingertips, and we gravitate towards certain ratchet, foolishness, decadent stuff. And they know that. Why don't they hold those things back? The ratchet stuff always goes through to show us as animals, to show us as violent, to show us as thugs and criminals. That never gets flagged, it seems like. It's all over the place when you look at how many hits on Facebook a particular video or post will get. But let it be something that reveals something historic that we need to know that's very important, or something that shares a viewpoint that they don't deem necessary. Then it's a whole different ball game. When you look at it, he was right on point for showing up at the Mother Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Because like Dylann Storm Roof, all he has on his mind is the destruction of the darker peoples of the world through the poison called Facebook.
Make sure to check out the boldest blog at LanceScurv.com and follow Scurv on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube under LanceScurv.